Hi, I'm Lex McKee and I'm welcoming you to the Monday Mindset blog, usually written for Moodscope, Monday Mindset Moodscope. And today we're going to look at more motivation. What motivates us? I'm fascinated by what makes us tick, and I'm sure you are too. People are strange, aren't they? And we're driven by different motivators. And that's the subject of today's blog on Mindset for Moodscope. How could we get more motivation? Now, I've had a battle over the last few months with almost zero motivation, so I was highly motivated to study this subject, and I turned to Daniel Pink's work on the subject. He wrote an amazing book called Drive, The Strange Truth of What Motivates Us. And in it, he talks about three types of motivation. So motivation 1.0, we've all got as biological entities, and that's the hunger we have, the thirst we have, and the desire to procreate. So if those needs aren't met, we are very unstable as biological entities. We need to eat, we need to feast, and we need to make sure the species continues. Motivation 2.0 is much more logical and really fits the industrial age that we came into in the UK and throughout the world in the last century, and perhaps a little bit before then as well. And it's the carrot and the stick. When we take people away from what they would love to do, and we get them to ask them to do work in return for rewards, many people think that the work itself doesn't have pleasure in it. So there need to be strong incentives, and that's motivation 2.0. And so we have what they call extrinsic motivators. Those are things that come from outside of ourselves, where we have punishment and reward, the carrot and the stick. If you do ABC, then you will be rewarded with ABC rewards. If you don't do ABC, then you will have ABC punishments. So that, we thought, would be the great way to motivate our society to good works. Be a good worker, do that, get a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. But it's not working quite so well anymore. Now let's hands up for a moment. Motivation 1.0 and motivation 2.0 are not going away. They are still very, very important. But there's a deeper motivation, a much more exciting motivation, which is the subject of Daniel Pink's book, Drive. And it's what drives us when money is not an issue, when time is not an issue. You know, those hobbies that you spend time on the clock just zooms past, or those people, those relationships you spend time with and time just flies, or that travel. So I'm going to ask you to press pause in your mind for a moment, pause for thought, and answer this question. If money wasn't an issue, and if you had all the time in the world, how would you choose to spend your time? Would it be in strengthening key relationships? Would it be in travel? Would it be in developing those hobbies like baking or quilting, or learning to cook Thai cuisine, or windsurfing, or developing your skills with photography? If money wasn't an issue and time wasn't an issue, how would you love to spend your time? When you can answer that question, you have put your finger on the pulse of intrinsic motivation for you. The stuff that is more like play than work. The stuff where time flies when you're involved in it, and it has its own reward in and of itself. Now, one of the secrets to true long-term happiness is to manage your time in manageable sizes, which is, for us, the longest is about 90 days a season, and to make sure on that timeline of 90 days that you carve out time for intrinsically motivating activities. And I was delighted when I was having a conversation with my niece Katie about this. We were talking about bucket lists, those great lists of things you want to do before you die. And she said, well, why not have little bucket lists? Things which are not so huge and possibly improbable, not impossible, but improbable. How about allowing yourself those rewards, those intrinsic motivators, on a shorter timescale? I thought that was genius. So I'm going to recommend to you that you have mini bucket lists, and you have a mini bucket every season, every 90 days. And in that 90-day season, you carve out time for some of those things that you'd really love to do, perhaps things you've been promising yourself you would do if only you had the time, if only you had the money. And my promise to you is if you give time to those intrinsic motivators, a degree of happiness is going to come into your life together with the drive and motivation we're seeking for when we ask for more motivation. Now, I'd love my post to become even more interactive. When I asked groups live about this, the response was wonderful. People knew what they wanted to be spending their time on, and in fact weren't spending their time on at the moment. So I'm going to ask you to pop in the comments how you would spend your time. And not only will you feel good when you share in those comments how you'd spend your time, you'll also inspire other people who will go, do you know what? I'd love to do that as well, or something similar. So be an inspiration today on this motivational Mindset Moodscope Monday and share with us your intrinsic motivators, the stuff that feels like play and lets you enter into flow. Thanks for listening.